welcome back to Quarantine 2020. As always, I'm your host, Sean McKinda.
And if I catch the coronavirus because I went out to see The Hunt in the theater, I'm going to stage my own hunt of the film's cast and crew.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we both saw The Hunt. We are proud Ohioans. I don't know if proud's the word in that sentence, but we are Ohioans.
We're unquestionably Ohioan.
That is a true fact. And so we are now entering a lockdown of movie theaters, restaurants, stuff like that. And so Jackson and I both independently went to go see The Hunt the night the lockdown kicked in. It officially started at 8 p.m., which means we both technically broke the quarantine.
Oh shit! Yeah. Was it 8 p.m. across the board? Because if so, I think I was in the last new showing because I went to the 7:50 show.
Well, strictly speaking, and this is all right. I'm gonna open up the bit a little bit here.
Ooh.
So like, technically, it was until end of business day, and like that's when the quarantine really went into effect. But like the way the law was written, it ended at 8 o'clock. So like anything that went past that was grandfathered in. But to make the joke seem funnier, I said that we broke the law, even though technically we didn't.
Even though we're good boys, sweet soft boys.
Yeah. So that's all I'm saying. You know, we were both like, we're out here breaking the law, man. Because I was there. I think my showing was at 7:30 as well, actually. So we actually got out. You texted me. I wasn't sure if you were just getting in, but like I was walking to my car when you texted me. So like we saw that at basically the exact same time.
Yeah. And you know, I gotta say that I specifically, for all that I'm about to complain about this movie, I have no one to blame but myself, because you even texted me and asked, like, hey, because of this coronavirus shit, do you want to not do The Hunt like we planned? And I'm like, you know what? This could be an interesting conversation, and this is probably going to be our last chance at the theater for a while, because I think you texted me before the lockdown was official.
I think I was seeing stuff about it. I think that's why I did text you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and so I'm like, well, I mean, if we have a chance, I can go late at night when no one's around, and I'm less likely to get corona'd. So why the fuck not? And so really, you know, I consented to this. So despite my griping, I have nobody to blame but myself. The only person who needs to be hunted is me, and possibly Sean.
Hey, all right, listen. Withhold that until I explain my thoughts on the movie, because then I absolutely deserve to be hunted.
Well, go for it, Sean. Tell the good people.
I love this movie. It is absolute fucking garbage nonsense in terms of its themes and politics and ideas. But for the type of movie that you might just like, I'm gonna sit down and watch this at 2 p.m. on a Saturday or something like that, it's a good fucking action movie. The action dialogue, the action quips are all very tight and funny. There's some very good, like, kind of playing within the space of what an action movie is early on that I really, really liked. And I do want to talk about it in spoilers, but I don't want to spoil it because it's very, very good and very, very surprising to me. So mad respect in that regard. As I said, the action in it was absolutely wonderful. There were some quips that I genuinely guffawed at in the theater. Yeah, I fucking loved it. But before I hand the ball back to Jackson, don't care about the politics of the movie because they're very bad. Jackson?
And so for me, like if the analogy here is like, you know, this movie, it's good if you ignore the politics. Like if this is the premise. For me, that's like saying this ham sandwich is good if you ignore the fact that the ham has been sitting out in the sun for 3 months. Because the movie for me was mostly bad politics. And in fact, like, you could track like how engaged I was with the movie at any given time, because anytime they'd make some like stupid buzzword joke from like 4 years ago,
Deplorables.
so I mean that was actually like the moment I knew I was gonna hate this movie. Was at the very beginning. They unironically used deplorables as in like basket of deplorables, like Hillary Clinton talk from 4 years ago.
See, and the thing too is, just to even further your point here, that whole scene was done via text message, and it was very clunky. It was not like enjoyable to watch. It was kind of just bad. It felt like I was watching a very hack movie. Like, this is not an actual movie. This is something that somebody threw together. And like that's not even touching on the fact that they did say deplorable in the year of our Lord 2020. Granted, this movie was supposed to come out in 2019. That doesn't make it that much better.
Still too long.
Yeah.
Still too far away. I mean, really, this movie is my penance, or like a monkey's paw manifestation of our BoJack Horseman episode, I think. Because I spent a good chunk of that episode complaining about its approach to satire, which I don't care for. And now what we're getting is a movie whose approach to political satire is like at least 3 times as dumb as BoJack Horseman's. And at least, like, say what I will about BoJack Horseman, at least like the canon is aimed, like, if like vaguely in a direction that I agree with, like, even if I think it messes up a lot of things, this is like South Park tier, like, fuck everything, fuck everybody, like, nonsense.
And BoJack is cogent. That's an important distinction about BoJack as well, is that BoJack's statements make sense.
That's true. I was never confused about where BoJack was coming from, even if I found the delivery clunky. Whereas, like, I think ultimately there's definitely, it's definitely a nightmare in terms of deciphering. And when you finally walk out of the theater and you kind of have thought about it and you're like, oh, it really was that. It's even more of a nightmare. So, like, honestly, the fact that, like, this is the movie that got Dear Leader Daddy Trump in a tizzy truly shows how low IQ he is.
It's not even a movie that entirely disagrees with him, is the thing.
I was going to say, the movie spends most of its time bitching about SJWs. Like, come on, Trump. Like, what are you talking about?
Like, that's the wildest thing. I remember even seeing this way back when, of people being like, there's a huge subset of people who are like, no, cancel it because it's wrong for Republicans and shit like that. But, like, they clearly had no idea what the fuck they were talking about.
Yeah, I know. And like that only serves to, like, I hate to even say that because it only serves to give the movie, like, oh, you're like South Park, like, you're playing into our hands, like, ho, like, oh, both sides are so triggered about this, bro. And like that, like, indeed, if your goal was just to make people mad, I mean, congratulations, you've done it. It doesn't mean that you've made smart or cutting satire.
No.
It just means you cleared a very, very low bar.
It really thinks it did, though. That's the thing that stuck with me. Like, so I watched this movie, and for about the first half of it, I actively tried to decipher what the fuck it was trying to say, kind of work out, like, ooh, what do you... expose your secrets to me. Is there going to be some big final twist that's going to make this whole thing worth it? Like, are you going to pull away from this both sidesism or be like, ooh, the actual evil is everyone type of bullshit? Except it doesn't do any of that. It's just stupid. And so halfway through, I stopped caring about the politics of it and just enjoyed the action of it, which is very good.
Which is, I mean, as I was talking with Sean, I do have to concede that, like, while I was thinking about my experience with the movie, there were times where, even though I, like, hated myself for thinking it, where I had to admit, like, in my core of cores, like, all right, this is pretty fun. There's a really fun sequence at the end where I was like, I hate myself for thinking this, but this kind of rules. And like, so there were just really, like, you could track how I was feeling about the movie at a given moment based on whether or not I was looking at my phone. Because when there was, like, physical action set pieces and, like, kind of more physical comedy stuff like that, I was actually watching and, letting myself get involved a little bit. But then anytime anyone opened their mouth to make some like hackneyed, stupid buzzword joke from 4 years ago, I was back on my phone immediately. And so I think it's fair to say that I hated this movie. It's hard for me to, one, just because as I sort of explained in the BoJack episode, like clumsy. I mean, I'd call BoJack clumsy political satire. Again, this really is like, me regretting my words and deeds for everything I said on that episode in comparison. But like, bad political satire is one of my biggest pet peeves already. And the fact that like we are in like primary season and I've spent like a good chunk of my time like getting into the weeds with people about like, oh, like Bernie or bust, like what leads to fascism, like that this movie loves itself some conspiracy theories that it like just justifies like all the conspiracy theory shit. Really appalling to me. And I can talk more about that in spoilers. But yeah, I found the movie to be bad. I didn't care for it at all.
If you'll allow me to take off my casual movie viewer hat and instead put on my movie critic hat, this movie sucks shit. It is incongruous. It is kind of this nightmare of themes and ideas that never coalesce into anything worthwhile. It is dated the moment anyone opens their mouths or technically texts. Fuck me running. There's a lot to really, really not like about this movie. But taking off that critic hat, putting on the hat of someone who just fucking likes movies, it's a fun fucking movie. Once you zone out that fucking annoying politic talk.
I could definitely see the appeal. Not that I'd say it's as good as even the example I have to bring up, but like almost kind of like a Tucker and Dale versus Evil vibe to me. Like that kind of ultra violent silliness. I mean, I thought that movie's much better, obviously. So like I do get the appeal.
Well, you can recommend Tucker and Dale without a caveat.
Yes, true. Absolutely true. And so like as far as, I mean, honestly, I think a pretty good comparison, maybe the closest one I can think of would actually be Kingsman, aside from like the spy genre, like throwback stuff, both like very political action comedy satires. This ain't no Kingsman. I don't even think this ain't no Kingsman 2, but...
Ooh, see, it didn't make me mad. Kingsman 2 made me viscerally mad. And
this one made me mad. And I do remember Kingsman 2 having at least one moment that I thought was smart, which is more than I can say for the satire in this.
Well, okay, yeah. If we're talking purely on a satirical level, entirely. But
okay, I see. Yeah.
Broad strokes, nothing in this movie actively made me mad. Kingsman 2 did so much stuff that made me hate it more.
Kingsman 2 had like moments of burning like passionate rage and then would like fall off, whereas this movie I was more like quietly seething throughout. So I guess like your mileage may vary on what's worse.
Or you might just have a grand old time with it and ignore the fact that it's cringy boomer speak, honestly.
That cringy boomer speak is probably the best way to put it. Yeah, this is definitely Damon Lindelof, and I was fucking surprised to see that David Lindelof wrote this.
I didn't even know he did until you came at me with that info.
Like, no, I didn't realize because like I happened to like look up during the credits and I'm like, wait, Damon Lindelof was involved? I'm like, oh, maybe he just produced for some fucking reason. And then nope, he's a writer. He's a writer on this, which means he's a prime candidate for blame here. But yeah, I could just imagine Damon Lindelof like at a Hollywood party and like someone is like getting on their high horse about some political topic and he's just sitting there seething like, I'm gonna show it to these libs. Like, oh, it's so cringy. I hate it so much.
Man, is there anything else that we want to talk about pre-spoiler at this point? Because I mean, obviously, I would love to talk about the beginning of the movie, but I think that's very spoilery. The themes are kind of spoilery, but like the nitty gritty of the themes that we're actually going to talk about are pretty spoilery. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of this one might be weirdly rough to talk about in that way. Yeah.
I guess before we move on, my last statement is please don't expose yourself to coronavirus to see this. Please don't do it.
It's actually, at time of release, going to be available to stream for $20 the next day. So Friday, the 20th, it's the 20th, because that's the day Animal Crossing and Doom comes out. The only thing that my internal clock measures in any way, shape, or form. It's coming out that day. You can stream it for $20. If it's something that you were like, hey, I might be interested in, I don't know if I would spend $20 on this movie. I spent $12 to see it.
$20 is a little steep. I mean, I have like a movie pass thing, so like I didn't really spend anything. But
yeah, as I said, this is a Saturday afternoon type of movie. $5 I think would be fair in my opinion. If you're like looking for something to stream at some point, it's not a $20 movie. Don't spend $20 to rent it, especially.
And please don't expose yourself to fucking coronavirus. Please don't do it.
Wash your goddamn hands, you goddamn animals.
You filthy hogs.
So, speaking of coronavirus, though, I think we should probably do a small state of the podcast update here.
Yeah, probably a good plan.
Because, obviously, our usual plan of we're going to go see a movie in theaters and talk about it, or like something relevant to a movie in theaters, ain't flying, given that Ohio theaters are quarantined and you can't go in them. So instead, we're going to take this time to knock out some of our backlog. And by backlog, I mean backlog.
Way back, classic backlog.
For at least the next 2 weeks, potentially further, we're going to have a moratorium on any movie that came out past, like, 1975. And I mean, the next 2 weeks, we're gonna spoilers, Casablanca and Citizen Kane. So we're going hella far back, but I mean, we could theoretically get up to like the 1960s if we want to do like a James Bond or something coming up here.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see how. I mean, things change so rapidly. Who knows where we'll be at in fucking April? Maybe we'll all be like stabbing each other for beans in like the backyard. But
wait, are we not supposed to be doing that yet?
Sean, there are still cops in the streets. You best be careful with who you stab at the moment.
I should probably go apologize to our neighbors.
Well, if there's anything left of them after the dogs have gotten them. Yeah, we're gonna, Casablanca, Citizen Kane, two big, like greatest movie of all time, popular candidates, very glaring holes in both of our backlogs. So yeah, there should be interesting conversations, and I'm always happy to fill those holes. So,
but listen, we're not here to talk about those things. We're here to talk about The Hunt, which means we need to start getting into spoilers. But before we do, go leave us a review on iTunes. Tell friends about us. Fucking, if you haven't listened to all the rest of our stuff yet, please do so. You're probably in quarantine right now. You got something to do. We don't get really sad and things. We usually make jokes and have like intelligent conversations. I don't know if this is gonna be an intelligent conversation. I'm gonna probably say on that one, but we can. Follow us on Twitter at BADHcast, patreon.com/BADHcast if you really want to support us.
And if you're watching from my YouTube, please go ahead and give me a like, comment, and a subscribe. Thank you very much.
I still hate that we're doing that now, and I know this sounds like it's going to be a bit from here on out, but also, it makes me cringe.
The Zoomers love their call to action, Sean.
Oh, all right. Spoilers for The Hunt. Spoilers for The Hunt.
Spoilers for The Hunt.
So let's start. We're all good things start at the beginning, but not the very beginning, because the very beginning is that fucking garbage ass cell phone thing. So we're gonna skip that. We're gonna.
I just want to go on the record. I literally like texted a friend I was like, help. I'm supposed to be in lockdown and I'm watching The Hunt. I'm 5 minutes in and they use the word deplorable. I literally did that.
It was rough. Like that cell phone scene. As I said, like the deplorables was bad. The language throughout the entirety of the text chain was no one talks like that. And also, don't just fucking show us a static shot of a cell phone for the opening 3 minutes of your movie.
It really does remind me of that really horrible, like so bad it's good, like Comedy Heaven picture of that cartoon of the dad reading the stupid looking kid the story, and he's like, Jack and Jill went up the hill.
Oh,
and
Christ.
the kid's like, wait, they went up the hill for some crummy old water. I want them to go get Pokemon creatures. Like, that's what the opening scene reminds me of.
Yes, that's honestly a very good comparison. But I really don't want to talk about that anymore. Because I want to talk about where the movie gets actually fucking good, which is to say, when they release all of the deplorables out into the wild and have to go, like, the hunt truly begins. Because it starts off following Emma Roberts as the lead in this moment. And, you know, she's just kind of walking around doing her thing. It's rather interesting to watch. Like, it's visually interesting. Things are happening. You're kind of curious to see where things go. You get engaged at this part again, is basically what I'm saying. And then about 10 seconds later, Emma Roberts gets her head blown off, which was like when I sat up in my seat and just went, wait, what? That's not our main character? And so then it shifts to the guy next to her. And I'm like, okay, cool. So this is our main character. It's this handsome man. That makes sense. Obviously, it's an action movie. Male protagonist stereotypes. LOL, handsome dude. And then he gets blown up about 2 minutes later, and we shift to another guy who is very familiar. I don't remember his name right now, but he's in a ton of stuff.
He looks kind of like Ethan from Heavy Rain.
Yes, he does look kind of like Ethan from Heavy Rain. So it's Ike Barinholtz. I looked this up. Full candidness. I looked this up. We're editing out about 2 minutes of dead air of me going, is this it? No. Yeah. So yeah, it's Ike Barinholtz. You've seen him in something, I guarantee it. But we follow him for a little while, and then he gets blown up. And then we actually get to our main protagonist. And like that first 30 minutes there is a lot of fun to watch because it lets you settle into a character and then have it ripped from you multiple times. And it's not like it never felt like it got cheaper to me because each time you're with someone, you're with them for a little bit longer. And so like you let your guard down again and then it happens again. And it's creative every time. And like the girl who gets pungied is really, really good.
Yeah, I will say, in another one of my like grumble, like hate to admit it moments, I think that like Emma Roberts getting blown up on its own, not super duper special. Like there are quite a few movies that do a thing like that. It's the fact that they commit to this bit so hard that I think makes it really work.
And like it's not no names too. Like that's the thing is they kill people who like you recognize. You go, oh hey, it's that guy, and you assume then that they're going to be the protagonist, and then just kidding, it's not. And then we end on someone who I don't think has really been in anything.
No, she looks kind of familiar. But when I looked at her IMDb page, like I didn't know her name. Like I had never seen her before in anything, so it was just as one of those kind of faces, I guess.
Yeah, Betty Gilpin. She's been in a couple of stuff, but she's not Emma Roberts and like Ike Barinholtz, who is still like not a huge name actor by any stretch of the imagination. But like you've probably seen him in something.
You know what I thought was kind of weird about this movie? Not necessarily bad, but sort of strange. Why did they spend the whole movie hiding Hilary Swank's face? Was it just because she was Hilary Swank?
I think so. And you know what sucks about that? I still didn't recognize her when they revealed it.
Yeah. No, it was only after the credits. I'm like, oh, that was Hilary Swank. Oh, right. Cool.
We are not actor people. So, like, a lot of times they'll be like, here's this actor reveal. And we recognize a couple, but there's definitely... You reach the point where we're just like, yeah. Me especially. I will happily put myself out on that. Jackson's a little bit better, but like, ooh, that Hilary Swank reveal. I'm like, should I know who this person is? Was this related to something previous or?
I was so confused. I expected her to have like a punished snake horn or something, but they finally revealed her face. It was just Hilary Swank.
Yeah. Like, not even like tied into the plot. Like I was half expecting her to be like one of the people they killed early on or something too.
Yeah,
like,
me too.
Anything. And instead, just no. It's just Hilary Swank doing Hilary Swank stuff, I guess.
Looking fucking shredded. Jesus Christ.
Oh my god, yeah.
Which I guess if we're talking spoilers, like, do we want to jump to the absolute best part of this movie while we're still on the positive?
Yeah, before we jump there though, I'm actually gonna segue us into that because there's a couple parts that I do want to talk about because I as well was pretty much alone in the theater. Some jackasses came in like as the movie was starting. It was by myself. There was no one else in the theater. Like 2 minutes before the movie started, two people walk in. I'm like, I swear to fucking God, if they sit in my goddamn it, they sat in my row. Like you couldn't sit directly next to someone. Thank Christ, because I swear to God they would have. But yeah, they're my row. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? So they were on their phones occasionally. So occasionally I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna take a quick note here because I like this. So yeah. I don't understand what the fuck is wrong with you people. You could have sat anywhere else.
I have a related story. This has become like a dear, like cherished memory to me now, but at the time it was the most like infuriating fucking thing. So like I would not go to the movies with just me and my dad super often. Like he didn't go out as much as my mom did, but we went to go see Chronicle back in the day. The Josh Trank found footage superhero film, and that was way after it was at the end of its run. So it was just us. It was like a matinee showing. We were like the only ones in the theater. And we picked a seat like in the very back. I had several bad movie experiences at the time, like in a row. So Dad's like, see, Jackson, you complained so much, but there's no one here today. And I'm like, just watch, Dad. Like, just you fucking watch. And then so not after the previews, not like 5 minutes after the movie started, like 20 minutes into the movie.
I'm already hating this one.
There was a group of like 5 like high school little shits who walk in. They're like screaming and like tossing popcorn at each other. Like,
wait, you had to be in high school too at the time though, because like Chronicle was 2010ish, right?
Was it 2010 or was it 2012?
Either way, I mean that's still like
it would have been
or just out.
Yeah, just out. But like these were. This was like high school freshmen, I think. So they're like screaming and throwing popcorn at each other, like worse than the kid from The Incredibles 2 who like fought big effing chat for that kid who fought a war with his popcorn and lost.
We salute you, fallen child.
So they were being more obnoxious than him. They walk up all the way to the back, and sit down like right next to us. And me and my dad literally look at each other like, are you fucking kidding me? And so we move, and then they have the audacity, like after we move, to like move into the center row seats that we were in. Like they're like,
oh my God.
And they were still talking the whole time. I literally, never mind. We're not having a hunt of the staff of the hunt. We're having a hunt of those kids who I'm sure are now like working at Taco Bell and hate their lives.
God, we as a society need to have a talk about movie theater etiquette, just in general.
20 minutes after the movie started.
I've had a couple shows like that recently. I don't understand it. Why are you going to the movies? If you go to the movies, don't go to the movies just to talk. If you want to whisper occasionally to each other, fine. You know what? I get that. It's still a communal event, so if you kind of want to like leave your room, like, hey, that was goofy or something like that, fine. I don't care. Everyone does it. I can accept an occasional whisper. No worries. But if you go to the movies and you just talk the entire goddamn time, if you're the only other people in the theater, don't sit next to me. And I swear to fucking God, if you go to the theater, don't walk in 20 minutes late, especially when it's like a goddamn prestige movie. Because I had people walking into like Little Women like half an hour late, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
You absolute Philistines. You charlatans. Oh my God. So that just reminded me of that tale. I wanted to share a nice memory there.
We haven't had a good Sean Hates His Movie Theater Experience segment in a long time. We had a bunch of those like last year, and we haven't had one in a while. So, I think this was a good revival before we don't go to the theater again for like 3 months.
the last theater visit.
Oh boy. All right, so let's talk about the good things before we get to the very good thing at the end. First and foremost, the acting in this movie is in fact entirely overacted, and it is fucking wonderful for it. There's one part where they run over a dude's head, and there's Don, the Air Force gentleman, is in the back seat going, oh my God, 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 no, 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 no. Just so over the goddamn top, and I fucking adored it. I loved it so goddamn much. When the lead finds out that she's not in Arkansas, and just goes, you fucked up, bitch, was the line delivery of that was so overblown. It was wonderful. It was great. I cackled, especially when it turns out that it's because cigarettes cost $6 in Arkansas for whatever goddamn reason. Just wonderful. The acting throughout this movie is so over the top, and it's just it is the perfect type of acting for this movie. I loved it.
I don't have much to add. I didn't honestly take much of a note of the acting because most of the acting was delivering bad political dialogue, so I was still mauling.
Yeah, I mean, like, the thing, too, is that the dialogue in this movie, when it's not bad political dialogue, is kind of fun. And, like, I think even the fucking crisis actor dude, who, you know, switched from crisis actor to not crisis actor, was kind of funny. Like, the dialogue to it can be quite witty. Like, it's very... It's overblown and stupid, but in a way that I found quite enjoyable.
I actually will say, like, the one line of, like, political dialogue in the movie that I laughed at, the only one, was when they were planning the hunt and, like, divvying up roles, and, like, the crisis actor guy is like, hey, like, I'm pretending to be, like, an Arab refugee. Like, you don't find that problematic? Everyone's like, yeah, dude, I mean, you're the one that suggested that. I mean, that's pretty weird. I didn't want to mention anything. Like, that was the one, like... That was the one line of even, like, remotely political dialogue that I laughed at. And even then, it was mostly just a goof.
And like, that's the thing, is that this movie actually has, when it's just trying to do goofs and kind of funny stuff, is not poorly written. Like, the jokes land most of the time. Like, I can't really think of a time that when it wasn't explicitly political, the goof didn't land to at least get me to smile. Now, as soon as you add in the boomer talk of, like, snowflake and liberal cucks, that's when it gets really bad.
The one line that was, like, low-key the worst to me, like, I think precisely because it was not as blatant as, like, libcuck or snowflake or deplorables, is when Dawn said, like, we're gonna get on Hannity. And I'm like, has anybody, even the most, like, diehard Trump supporter, ever said that? Especially in the midst of, like, a crisis like this? Like, no, absolutely not. But by comparison to everything else in the movie, like, it almost slipped by me, and I was angrier about it.
Yeah, it's a very weird movie in that way, in that, like, there is just some absolute garbage lines, but there's also some really good lines too, and I think the delivery, the fact that it is so overacted, really helps on those a lot. But once again, Jackson is entirely right in that there's a lot of really bad dialogue in this movie, too.
I mean, again, credit where it's due. Damon Lindelof isn't a complete hack. Like, clearly, he knows his stuff when it comes to writing to at least a degree. It's just that when the movie gets caught up in its South Parkness is when shit goes wrong. And unfortunately, that is all the time.
With the exception of the final fight scene, which is...
Oh, my God. Glorious.
So goddamn good. Holy shit. I loved every second of it. It is entirely wonderful. There's some absolutely incredible camera work in it where, like, it's designed to, like, shift focus based on who's leading the fight. And, like, there's just some, like, incredibly quick switches between camera that, like, it feels almost imperceptible. And there's some really kind of clever work. Like, they're fighting through the window. And, like, that's not anything super original or anything like that. But, like, it's nice to see. Like, this is a movie that let them kind of experiment with some of the more hokier, over-the-top action set pieces, which was wonderful. And it still, at the same time, felt incredibly grounded, because at one point, our lead jumps off a balcony, grabs on a rope to swing, and the rope falls, like it would in fucking real life, which is wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, there's just, like... I when they were, like, preparing for that confrontation, like, I was letting myself get a little excited. I'm like, oh man, are we having, like, an MGS4, like, shirtless fist fight between like Crazy Army Lady and Hilary Swank? Is this happening? And then when it started happening, it was like, oh! And then when she yeeted her through, like, the fucking, like, fireplace, I was like, oh! And then there's even a good goof in there when Hilary Swank's like, wait, no more glass, and, like, opens the door, like, as they're about to get, like, tossed through it. Yeah, I mean, that one fight scene, definitely the highlight of the fucking movie. Definitely where its strengths are really shining through.
I love it too, because it's very much treated each other as equals. So, like, it never really feels like someone's, like, the underdog in that. And so, like, it allows for a lot more interesting dialogue, like the no more glass thing, where they both respect each other to be like, no more glass. And they give her the time to open the door so she doesn't get thrown through glass. And, like, when they both hit the ground and like, all right, hang on. I need a second. Just give me a second. It's wonderful. Once again, it's been done before, but who fucking cares? It was great. And also the final kill with the goddamn blender blade in each other. Oh, mwah.
Yes.
Mwah.
Yes, that was good shit. And, like, yeah, the way that, like, I'm a sucker for that like worthy opponent shit. I'm not gonna lie. Like it's one of my favorite tropes. And so there's definitely a lot of creative stuff on display. And in hindsight, like, you know, the movie is nice and gory and has some of those moments like the girl who like gets impaled in the spike pit, taken out of the spike pit. The grenade blows her back into the spike pit. She's like, just fucking shoot me, please. Just give me the gun. Like, this is the worst.
Yeah.
Like, there definitely are some good bits when it comes to just, like, comedy violence, which you know, I have to concede. I have to give credit where it's due. Never let it be said that I don't give credit where it's due.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm happy that you have given credit where credit is due, because those are the part of things that I absolutely love. And so now allow me to credit where credit is due in return, and also segue into letting you take the reins.
So I actually want to talk about South Park for a minute, because South Park is another one of those shows that continues to exist because it's a profitable brand. And actually, having seen more recent episodes of South Park, like, I think that those guys are genuinely very talented writers when they're not like up their own ass about like commentary. It's not like a Simpsons where like the Simpsons is completely void of any soul, life, or spark. But the thing about South Park, the reason why it's kind of earned a bit more disdain recently, I think, and rightfully so, is that it's a relic of the fact that it's at the time when it aired, because it was so genuinely shocking and boundary pushing. Like, it was bold, it was innovative, like it needed to happen. Like, modern TV doesn't happen without South Park.
Well, let me put it to you this way. I'm going to summarize your argument and then let you finish it. Then, bold and brash now belongs in the trash.
Yes, you get it. No, exactly. And so, like, the problem, I'm taking this straight from Film Crit Hulk, who a while back wrote an article about South Park. So, you know, things have changed even more since then. But, like, you know, South Park was anti-establishment show that has become the establishment. And, like, if you sit back and think about it, you know, whatever I can give South Park for its artistic merits as a show, it's kind of hard to argue that they haven't been on the wrong side of history on a lot of their commentary. Like, they did an entire episode, you know, the Man Bear Pig episode about how Al Gore was like overreacting about climate change. I mean, fucking yikes, right? And so, like, it's that kind of shit. South Park is a relic of that sort of 90s. I mean, it's the same thing with Fight Club, right? Like, I would never want to see a remake of Fight Club, even though I like that movie. There's a reason that I use it as a kind of dismissal against a lot of movies. That sort of particular 90s, like, ooh, like, corporatism has us, like, you know, we're slaves to consumer culture, like, you know, and men are, like, snowflake cucks. I mean, that is the movie where Snowflake comes from. And so Fight Club is interesting as a period piece, basically, of, like, how people felt in the 90s. Not so interesting or relevant now, in terms of, like, taking political philosophy seriously when things have changed so much. And kind of holding on to that sort of like 90s disillusionment isn't really smart. I've been thinking about this a lot, actually, because we've been doing prep for our bonus episode on The Witcher. I finished replaying Witcher 3. I've been reading the books before I start watching the show. And I feel very similarly in that, like, Geralt as a character is like, if I have to choose between the lesser of two evils, I'd rather not choose at all. Like, very much values his neutrality. But even then, like, part of the point of those short stories is that, like, he does have to get involved if, like, if he's gonna have a conscience one way or another, right? And so, like, that relic of, like, people who care too much are idiots, basically. It's not a good look. It doesn't make you, you know. There's a reason there's a subreddit called Enlightened Centrism, which is just like, you know, tons of examples of this kind of shit of, like, ooh, like, there's that one terrible meme of, like, fucking Rick Sanchez and with, like, the meme font, like, you know, Republicans, Democrats, y'all are idiots, and I can prove it mathematically, like, that kind of shit. this movie is just dripping in that fucking shit. Oh my god.
I mean, to before we dive into that, just to your point on South Park, the 90s was a time when everything was way more centrist and you could get away with not caring because it was the carefree 90s. Honestly, nothing really mattered. Everything, like, it wasn't really getting pulled one way or the other, and like we weren't seeing extremism on either side, and like that's how South Park happened.
I mean, the 90s was literally a period, I just want to point this out in case people don't know, a very influential, like, piece of academic literature from the 90s is literally called The End of History, proposing that, like, we have reached an end state, which was immediately proven wrong by 9/11.
Yeah. Man, what an idea, though, huh?
Right? So sorry, I just while you were talking about that, I just didn't want that to slip away.
That's basically the point that I'm making, is that, like, it made sense. South Park is completely understandable as a relic of the 90s, of something where you could get away with not caring. And also you could make fun of both sides of the political spectrum because it was very much in the middle, and like you could say, haha, look at the idiots Democrats saying one thing stupid while the Republicans are saying something stupid. I mean, now it's become more like, haha, the Democrats are caring about people and the Republicans are autocrats.
Yeah, like the thing is, like, Biden, you know, we're talking about current politics, Biden gets brought up as like, oh, he's basically like a 70s Republican, like a 90s Democrat, which is true, at least to a certain degree. But the thing is, even by that standard, Biden is still like leagues away from someone like Donald Trump or Mike Pence or Mitch McConnell. Like there is no reasonable comparison to be made as far as both sides anymore. Like, to make that analysis, I mean, it's the most low IQ political analysis imaginable.
I mean, yeah, he is not the best choice, but he's not a dictator.
You know, he's not advocating for Mexicans to be like locked away forever, to have a giant border wall, like literal fascist parades. Like, yeah, there is a vast difference between even the worst Democrat and I'd say probably even the best Republican. Like, you don't even have to go as far as Trump. So, you know, you can complain about partisan politics, which this movie, of course, does. Partisan politics exists for a reason, and that these two views of the world are genuinely irreconcilable. There is no getting along anymore. It just isn't ever going to happen. That has been uncorked.
And so the hunt?
Like, I mean, I don't even know what else to say about the political dialogue other than just her, look at stupid Trump voters, and her, look at stupid, entitled, you know, rich millennials who think they're better than everyone else because they have the right beliefs. Like, haha, very clever, Damon Lindelof, very, very original even.
I mean, this is a movie that I think, like, if you kind of peel away what the actual text of it is, I can see what they were trying to go for here, which is to say that, like, the rich liberal elites who are basically forcing these believes that they don't actually believe in. I'm going to say that anyway. Believes that they don't actually believe in are about the same as the people who actively don't care. Which, I mean, like, there's a fair point to be made with that. But, like, the nuance is so lost in this movie that it does just end up becoming, haha, both sides. Jerk it off.
The nuance is so lost, and I think that it comes from a perspective that just isn't like in the know enough. It just isn't like Jordan Peele. If Jordan Peele is going to make, you know, a commentary about like clueless white people like appropriating black culture, yeah, that's a pretty genuine like leftist perspective, like a pretty like scathing critique of like one of the actual like elements of like left-wing America that isn't reckoned with so much. Like, yeah, I mean, Get Out is probably like the gold standard for political satire, like, you know, as of contemporary movies. But still, with this movie, like, I'd be willing to give that sort of sentiment more leeway if it was coming from like someone like Jordan Peele. I mean, believe me, I've had these thoughts before. Like, I've spent the past couple of weeks like getting in Facebook fights about Bernie or bust. Now it's the most privileged, stupid fucking position imaginable. But that isn't the same as like someone who's mad, who went to like a Hollywood party where like he got scolded because he made it, or Damon Lindelof got scolded because he made an off-color joke, and now is like, huh, like, you know, these Hollywood elites, they don't understand anything about real America like I do, another rich and famous Hollywood writer.
For what it's worth, I don't know if this is the type of thing that we'd get in trouble for, but we don't know that actually happened. This is purely conjecture, and also Damon Lindelof wasn't the only writer on this. There's 2 writers. I don't know who the other guy is, but it's worth mentioning.
No, you're right. You're right. And like that's how, not saying that that's literally how it happened, but that's how the movie reads to me. Like that's the feeling. Like this is someone who got like pissed off after a like Facebook argument and made a whole movie about it.
Yeah, and like everything about this is both like, haha, we're so smart, but also we're so dumb because we wrote this fucking thing. Like the whole Don thing to it is clearly the epitome of they're the same thing, because you don't know whether Don is a hunter or a huntee, and like there's this whole part about it and it never gets found out, and like that's just so hashtag deep, man, you know, like oh.
I'm 12 and this is deep. There is actually one very specific element of the movie that made me madder than most. Like, because most of the movie is just kind of fucking stupid, brainless political dialogue, which is easy enough to, like, say, like, haha, you think you're so smart, movie, but you're not. I think what the movie does that might actually be genuinely damaging is how pro-conspiracy theory it is.
That's fair, yeah.
So there's, like, the crisis actor guy, like... Think about where, like, that crisis actor stuff is coming from. It's coming from Alex Jones, like an absolute piece of shit who, like, has inspired a bunch of people to harass the, you know, families of victims of, like, the Sandy Hook shootings. Like, that's where the crisis actor shit comes from. And so the fact that the movie, like, goes along with that, even if it's just for a goof, pretty galling, pretty offensive, and not in, like, a so punk rock way, dude. But also,
like, it's the weird thing about that too is like one of them is a crisis actor, and like the movie goes out of its way to even be like, no, they're refugees. I crisis actor, them refugees, and like I see what you're doing, movie, which is to say you want to have your cake and fuck it too.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And then the whole like loop of like, oh, like there wasn't a conspiracy, like it was never real, but then like, well, I mean, it's real now, you made it real. And it's like, if you think about like what are the conspiracies that actually get peddled, and like not everything that gets labeled a conspiracy is equal. So like saying something like the CIA disrupts like foreign elections and like fosters coups and stuff, like that has historically provably happened. So if you suspect that based on a history of like Cold War era espionage bullshit, like if you make that accusation about something going on in like foreign politics, that might strictly be a conspiracy because you don't have proof, but it's certainly far and away different than something like Pizzagate. You know what I mean?
And that's what this movie feels like it's aping the most, is Pizzagate, which I think is the most dangerous part of this.
Yeah, no, it's not like I on the one hand, when it comes to like being kind of conspiratorial, like I it's not something that I want to encourage, because to be like fully conspiratorial is to ignore the facts of the situation and like kind of, you know, just make baseless assumptions, which again, like there's a lot of shady stuff that goes on in the world, so it's not like questioning where your information comes from is bad necessarily.
I was gonna say, I've read somewhere that like everyone has a conspiracy or two that they just believe in, like it's just something that they believe in, but like not acting on it is a big part of it. Like I personally, I'll come out and say it, I believe that we have cures for a bunch of diseases that like the pharmaceutical industry has just not released because they're more profitable to not. Like that is just genuinely a belief I hold. Is it insane? Possibly. Is it something I'm ever going to act on? No, because I'm aware that it's a conspiracy and like it's not something that is worth acting on.
Yes, and I also think the difference with that is that like I think the real crux of like as the problem with like a conspiracy mindset is when you are like when you've dug in so deep, like to use the most extreme example possibly, like the flat earth thing, is that the flat earth theory is like a meme conspiracy that memed itself into existence specifically because like you have to go like spiral down so many circles to even arrive at some of the conclusions that the flat earth people do. And like that's where I think that like conspiracy thinking it does get like genuinely dangerous when you start like completely ignoring the facts. Like saying, a pharmaceutical company is withholding a drug. Like, yes, that is a conspiracy, but it's not a completely baseless one. Like there is a motive to do that, right? It's not like Pizzagate, which is like, I don't even remember what the fuck Pizzagate was about. Like child sex ring in the basement.
A child sex ring in the basement of a pizza place in like Washington DC.
Yeah, just and that it leans so hard into that imagery for such like absolute nonsense and like the absolute like worst kind of conspiracy.
And the idea that like the payoff of this too is that like, oh, the Manorgate conspiracy, which is the whole basis of this movie, made it real. Are you trying to imply that the Pizzagate conspiracy made Pizzagate real? Because that's a wild thing to imply with your movie.
I mean, it is. It's so fucking crazy. Like, I don't understand what the point of that twist was. I think if I'm going to try and be charitable to the writers here, I think that they're going on, like, two different things. I think that with that, in the actual text, like, that's how it ends up playing out. Like, you denied Pizzagate so hard you made it real, which is, of course, nonsense and why this movie is terribly written. I think what they're going for, which is still stupid, is like you were so blinded by your hatred of the Trump voters that like even you've allowed your meanest jokes to become reality. You've become the very thing you swore to destroy, Darth. Which is whatever. That point is just stupid both sidesism, and the fact that it feeds so much into the conspiracy angle. Not a thing, generally speaking, that I think we should be encouraging. The world's pretty crazy. I'm not gonna lie that there are probably more conspiracies than we can care to admit that are probably true. I mean, look at how fucking crazy the Epstein shit is. Like no, Epstein didn't fucking kill himself. That's mine. I'll admit right here.
I don't even know if that's a conspiracy at this point.
No, I mean exactly. I mean, and that's why like it is maybe more of a nuanced conversation than I'm giving it credit for, because like Epstein didn't kill himself is a conspiracy in the strictest sense that like there isn't any like hardline evidence, but like if you are thinking critically about it for even a second, it's like yeah, there are a ton of people who are implicated by this and who don't want him to testify and are going to take any means necessary to shut him up. Like there's a reason that like Epstein didn't kill himself is actually one of the few things that both the left and the right agree on. It's just who wanted to shut him up more, Trump or the Clintons, depending on who you ask. Yeah.
Hey, this episode got wild, huh?
I mean, it kind of had to, I think.
I mean,
subject matter.
It's entirely within the bounds of The Hunt, but hey, this episode got wild, huh?
It sure did. I can't wait for my YouTube clickbait title for this one to be The Hunt. Did Epstein kill himself?
Do we have anything else we really want to say before we just spiral into more conspiracy talk?
Not gonna lie, it's kind of an interesting conversation, but we probably shouldn't go any further before we implicate ourselves.
I was gonna say, I mean, it's not an uninteresting conversation. I agree with you, but I don't know that it's as relevant to the topic at hand anymore.
Yeah, I mean, we said pretty much all we can about The Hunt.
Well, cool.
Fuck.
Final thoughts. I guess have we ever really done this final thoughts thing before? I guess we are this time. I don't know. If you've gotten this far and you haven't seen it and you've listened to all this, we've probably ruined the movie for you. I won't lie, because you listened to us critically discuss the failings of its themes and ideas. So, like, I probably wouldn't recommend it to you at this point.
Well, I'm just going to say that we've done a public service then if we've dissuaded people.
Which is, I mean, I disagree. I'm kind of bummed about it. I really like this movie just from an action standpoint. I thought it was a very good action movie. So, I mean, listen, if you've listened to all this and you are the type of person that can turn your brain off, when it's $5, stream it. Or when it's free on Netflix or something in a month, it's worth it. But if you can't and you've listened to this and you're going to be thinking about everything that we've talked about this entire time, yeah, skip it.
Not worth $20, not worth coronavirus.
Not even a little bit. I've been Sean McKinda. Find me on Twitter at Sean_McKinda. Find my letterbox at Sean McKinda. Find my writing over at 25yearslatersite.com. That's all I got really going on right now.
And I'm Jackson Keller. You can find me at twitch.tv/JacksonJKeller, where I stream. And, if you're watching this on YouTube, maybe you are, but if you're not, you should check out my YouTube too. It's just my name, Jackson Keller. That's me. I didn't say it at the beginning of this episode, so if you're coming in blind, that's my identity.
If you want to get into contact with the podcast, or just kind of keep an update with what's going on, the best place to do so is over at BADH_cast on Twitter. We mainly just tweet out updates and stuff from there. It's not a super active thing, but if you want to contact us that way, I guess you can. The better way to do so is by signing up over at our Patreon at only $1 a month over at patreon.com/BADHcast. You get access to our Discord where you can yell at us directly, and I'm gonna assume that if this episode does any sort of numbers, we're gonna get some weird conspiracy talk happening. I'm kind of happy that we don't generally do numbers, so
well, if there's a new conspiracy tab in the Discord channel, that's why.
At $5 a month, you get access to the Discord, but you also get access to all of our backlog of bonus episodes. We got a ton of really good ones. We've got the Witcher one coming out next week, so stay tuned. And at $10 a month, you get access to everything I've said before and the ability to request bonus episodes. So if you've got something you really want us to talk about, let us know. We've got The Witcher coming out next week from time of release. We're doing Ni no Kuni next month. It's going to be interesting. Stick around for that. You also get a little something something.
Thank you so much, Travis, Julia, Mom, Aunt Summer, and Pat, y'all wonderful stallions. Thank you for giving us money in these trying times.
And thank you, Lords of the Highway, for letting us use your music. It is Suicide Alternate Take off the album High Octane, Low Expectations. They're a wonderful band. You should go check them out however you can, be that streaming them, purchasing their music, or seeing them live. Though I wouldn't necessarily... That is the type of thing that you should do later. If you're listening to this the day it comes out, don't go see them live. Probably because I can't imagine they have any shows right now. Everything is shut down. Don't go outside. Wash your hands. Also, thanks to 25yearslatersite.com. There's a little button of us in the corner that you can go click on, but you should also go read some of their stuff. They got a bunch of really talented people doing a bunch of really talented writing that you should absolutely read. They've got interviews, news, all sorts of stuff across all sorts of media, video games, sports, movies, TV shows. You got it, name it. They probably got it. I don't know why my voice is doing this. Next week, as we said, is going to be a little bit different. We're not going to be as hot on the new releases. We're going way back to Casablanca, a movie neither of us have seen, and it should be interesting.
Play it again, Sam. That's a line.
Bye.
Don't you go into the ground. Don't you go